Rob, Rob. I am here recording from my bedroom because guess what? My entire office was destroyed by a flood.
Yeah, you. Well, I think I messaged you because a friend of mine had said, "Oh, there's a hurricane warning where I am," and I know he's in the general vicinity of where you are. And I messaged you and said, "Oh, I hope this doesn't affect you." And you said, "There's a lot of water in my basement."
I was literally in the midst of cleaning all that up when I got your text. I was like, well, I'm going to have to respond to this later because it was like a crisis for a while. It wasn't like one of those things where you see somebody who's gotten like, I don't know, 3 feet of water in their basement or something like that. But it was, it was not good. The situation was definitely not good. It was coming in. We've had some water in our unfinished basement before, and that's at one end of the basement area. The other end was far away from that is where I would work. And I've never had water in that part, but this time it rained so hard. It was downpouring so torrentially that the water came in up and over the foundation of the house on all sides, basically, and came in all at once in all areas. And it was, maybe a quarter inch, half an inch. It wasn't like deep or anything, but it was flowing across the floor. And fortunately, all my stuff, all my gear, all my computer gear and all that stuff is up because I've always known that this was maybe a potential concern. And I mean, I don't have a lot of computer equipment on the floor anyway. I don't have like a Mac Pro or anything sitting on the floor, but I did have a UPS, an uninterruptible power supply, which is basically just a giant battery with a bunch of stuff plugged into it, sitting on the floor, and a hard drive next to it, which is my time machine hard drive. And when I realized the water was coming in right next to those, I got those, everything shut down and unplugged really quickly, and just narrowly escaped those getting wet, which wouldn't have been good just from having, mixing electricity and water is never a particularly good thing.
Yeah, I mean, it's certainly not quite so uninterruptible when it's covered in water.
No, and it's got water going into it. And so there was a lot of valuable stuff plugged into that too, my Mac Mini and my display and a bunch of other things. And so I got it all unplugged. And this was just like a Saturday afternoon when I was taking it easy and thinking, I really need to bear down and get some work done in the next couple of days, do some other things. And that was all thrown into up in the air because I had a lot of cleanup to do. So we got it all cleaned up. Everything's good now. Everything's fixed. We took the opportunity to just throw out a bunch of old junk. We had we had like some old furniture that was really not good furniture. It was like old bookcases from like kids' bedrooms and stuff that wasn't very good quality, but we used it to store things in the basement that we didn't get rid of. And then we finally just got rid of a bunch of that stuff, which was really good. So we don't have all that stuff cluttering up our house anymore. We've looked, our front curb on trash day for the last couple of weeks has looked like a junkyard because we have been, one of the things people do is they drive around and pick through your garbage, the night before garbage day. So if you put anything of even marginal value at the curb on a Sunday night before, the Monday garbage pickup here, it just magically disappears. Elves come and get it. And we got rid of some stuff that was just really not very nice that, we would feel bad donating to some place because it was in such bad shape, but people took it anyway. So
yeah,
got rid of a lot that way, which is good because where we live, we have to put, for anything big like that doesn't fit into one of the bins, you have to put a sticker on it because it's like extra to have them haul it away. And they're pretty expensive. You have to do that with yard waste. You have to do that with big items. And so it adds up very quickly. I forget how much exactly they cost, but it's not a cheap thing. So if you never get anybody to take something away, haul it away, magically in the night because they think there might be value there, that's always a better course of action.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, I mean, we do the same. I mean, I've been doing the same thing the last few weeks where we've been sort of packing up and sorting stuff out, and like I just take a picture of it, chuck it on Facebook Marketplace, put it as free.
Yeah.
And like you say, yeah, maybe it's crappy old furniture, but like I had this little bookcase that I've had probably 20 years or something. And this couple came around and they just bought their first house, and they were really thankful that I was giving them this bookcase. And I'm like, I'm glad you're going to enjoy it, but like, this is just I'm just trying to get rid of it. I don't care what you do with it, but like, it's nice that it actually went to somebody that wanted it.
Right. Yeah. No, we did some of that too, because there's similar things both on Facebook and elsewhere that Jennifer put some things on. We actually got rid of. You're gonna hate me for this, Rob. We got rid of tens of thousands of Lego.
Oh no! Well, I mean, to be honest, knowing what shipping's like from the US, that's fine. You carry on. I know.
It was decades of sets of Legos, but they found a good home with a family with some young kids, so that's good. So that was nice to get those out, because I have 3 boys, so we've had a lot of Lego over the years. There's a handful of sets that are still in the house, but we have these grand visions of maybe rebuilding some of the old sets and selling them on eBay and things like that. But when you have that quantity of Lego, it's impossible to go through and try to recreate that. So it becomes like this full-time job that somebody has to do, and no one here has time to do it. So it was never going to happen. So now maybe this family can kid themselves that they might do it someday.
Absolutely. I mean, I did that I don't know, last year, maybe the year before, where I sold a bunch of my Lego sets because I sort of, I'd played with them and used them, and I just wanted to get rid of a few. And keep in mind,
right,
I have a full detailed list of exactly what Lego sets I have. Most of it was bagged, and it still took me hours, like literally days, just to build these sets, just to take photos of them, to put them on eBay and Facebook Marketplace and stuff like that. So, if you're digging through a big bin, or all of it's mixed up, you would have been there for weeks and weeks trying to sort all of that out.
Yeah, it was a complete jumbled mess, and I had no idea whether actually everything was in there or not. Anyway, so some of them may have been slipped through a crack somewhere in a couch. Who knows? But yeah, it's so that stuff's gone. A lot of stuff that we didn't need anymore is gone. I'm podcasting from my bedroom. I am working on the first floor now in a room that wasn't getting much use in our house. I just kind of set up what was kind of a project table, just a very simple IKEA table there with the M1 iMac on it, where I'm doing my writing and other stuff. So yeah, it's working out pretty well. I don't mind not being in the basement for a while. I was a little depressed about it for a while. The one nice thing about it down there is that it was a place where it was always utterly quiet and zero interruptions. And now I am in a room that people walk through and on their way to the second floor. So it's it's a lot more central and easier to get distracted. But I've got noise canceling headphones and things like that to take care of that sort of situation.
Yeah, it definitely wasn't what I was expecting when I text you. I was thinking, he's either going to say, yep, that that hurricane warning's in place, or oh no, it must only be affecting this area of Chicago or whatever. I certainly wasn't expecting you to go, oh yeah, I've been bailing water out of my basement for the last 2 hours.
Yeah, we had like 3 or 4 or 5 days of just heavy rain over and over and over again until the ground got saturated and nothing was soaking in anymore, and that was part of the problem. And actually, like 3 or 4 days before you texted me, we did have tornadoes only about 5 miles from here that tore down, ripped apart some houses, flipped over some cars, and things like that. It wasn't very far from here at all, and it was like at midnight or something like that. So a lot of people were in their homes when it happened, but I don't think anybody got killed, thank goodness. But yeah, it's been really violent weather around here lately, and but it's the last week or so. It's calmed down. It's just been hot, but yeah, it's hopefully we're not going to see any more of that. This is an ongoing project, getting rid of a bunch of old stuff. So I'm not completely moved into my new space. The mess in the basement is not completely cleaned up yet, but we're doing a little bit every day and getting things out, which is good, because it'll just make it easier down the road if we ever decide to move somewhere else.
Yeah, definitely. So I joined TikTok. I say joined. I haven't posted anything.
That's probably the most boomer way to say it right there, Rob. I joined the TikTok.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, I'm on the TikTok.
Yeah, what prompted you to get on the TikTok?
So a friend of mine had been on a Slack and as well as like privately and stuff, had just been sending me TikToks like that he'd seen on there. the funny stuff,
there are some good ones.
and he'd be posting this stuff constantly, and I was chatting to him, and it's like, you should just download it, give it a couple of days, just scroll through the recommended feed, because that's essentially how you're supposed to use it. And he was like, just like the stuff that makes you laugh or whatever. And he was absolutely right. Within 2 days, I have my TikTok feed nailed down to cats, dogs, and home improvement videos, and that's it. That's all I see.
Really? It's that good, huh? That good of an algorithm. That is impressive. I had it installed until very recently on my phone, but I never really used it more than a couple of times. And then I finally just thought, I'm going to get rid of it. So, well, maybe I'll dive back in. I don't know. I have run into some people who I've heard, I don't know, adults, very adults, older people who are into TikTok. And I'm always curious about how they found their way to TikTok. And I think it's usually through those videos getting posted on places like Facebook or Twitter or things like that. I think there's a little bit, that kind of word of mouth, or just text messaging or whatever it happens to be. Because if I see TikToks these days, it's usually on Twitter.
Yeah, I mean, I see a lot of them there as well, which it was always one of these things where I was like, I should join it, but I didn't, like you say, I don't want to do it in a boomer way and just be like, I don't know what I'm doing. And then because Keenan had said to me, just join it and just like a few things. And, we can, because you can share stuff with each other fairly easily on the app and stuff. So we've been sending stuff back and forth. And, I wasn't convinced at first, because there's a lot of, I guess it's the same kind of things you see on Instagram Reels. There's a lot of just young ladies dancing to things, and I'm like...
Teenage girls doing dances, yes.
Right, exactly. And I'm like, this is not really what I've come here for. But sort of, once you sort of tell it, I'm not interested in this, and, I like every cat video that I see pretty much, it's pretty much nailed down now. I don't really see anything that I'm not interested in. So yeah, it kind of works quite well. But I will lose
Instagram is
20 minutes
because
or something. I can just be sat there. I go, I'll just open it up for a minute, and the next thing I know, it's been quite a while before I've remembered what I'm doing.
Wow, maybe I should stay away from it then. But yeah, I mean, I think Instagram is pretty funny these days, because whenever I scroll down and I see they'll have the suggested list of reels, and that's all it ever is. It's just a bunch of teenage girls doing dances, and maybe that's probably because I haven't trained it. I've never really been into reels, and I actually don't do much with Instagram these days. I don't know. I kind of fell out of the habit of taking pictures and sharing stuff during the pandemic. So, who knows? Maybe I need to join the Facebook, Rob.
Oh my God! Don't do that. John, Facebook is an absolute mess.
No, I'm not. I'll find something better to do with my time.
Yeah, I mean, don't worry. Instagram will be Facebook before you know it. So.
Yeah, I know. It sounds like they're going to be doing some things that are going to make it much worse. It's becoming a lot less photograph focused, I guess, than ever before. Which, I mean, I don't mind stories, but I'm not really interested in the reels for the most part.
Do you know where I think the downfall of Instagram came, where they stopped forcing you to do square photos? I have never posted a non-square photo to Instagram. Every photo I've ever done is square, and I will stand by this.
You're a Instagram purist.
Right, that's exactly.
That's the way God intended it, boy. That's how it was invented, and that's how it should stay. I hear you. And you shouldn't be allowed to edit your tweets either, for goodness sake. Come on.
Exactly.
No,
you say something stupid.
I would like to be able to do that. I say stupid stuff all the time. I make typos in my tweets all the time, because it's usually me tweeting something about something I wrote, and I'm exhausted from having written it, and I always have a bad typo, and Federico's always telling me about my typos in my tweets. I've gotten better at it. I actually pay attention to that now, instead of just firing things off without really looking, because I'm just thumb typing, and then I don't look back at it often enough. I think.
Yeah, and you know that the people that have seen the typo, the delete, and the repost is people like me, where I've just sort of got it open in the background there, and I see a tweet from you, and then the next thing it's gone, and I'm like, oh, he's made a typo. It's coming back in a minute.
Yeah, that's the thing with that. I mean, even if it's a split second thing, almost instantaneous that people see that stuff, and a fair number of people see it. So I don't know. That's the problem with the internet, I suppose.
Yeah.
At least there's, when I post a story, usually on Mac Stories, there usually takes people a while to navigate to the homepage. So if I can change something within a minute or two, very few people see it. It usually takes. It's funny. You can kind of almost see the waves start cresting when you post a story where it's like, oh, nobody's reading it, and then like 5 or 10 minutes later is when people really start to show up. I don't know why that is. I suppose it's just how often people check things like Twitter or going to pages or looking at their RSS feed or whatever it happens to be.
Yeah, definitely. And sometimes, I mean, like you say, people post a link and I won't necessarily click that straight away, whereas I will read,
Right.
I will read tweets straight away if I'm looking at it, but I don't always click the link. So I think, I'm just in the middle of something and then I'll click it. So I suspect that's probably where a lot of the waves come from.
Yeah, that's probably true. And I do a lot of saving things to like read later from Twitter too. I mean, I'll like right click and save it right to Reader or something like that.
Yeah, definitely. So the OLED Nintendo Switch, is that what this is called? Is it just called the new Nintendo Switch?
It's called Nintendo Switch parentheses OLED model.
Right. It's somebody at Apple. Is somebody at Apple doing the naming? Is it just like...
I think so. It's pretty ridiculous, but it's not as ridiculous as some of the names that Nintendo's come up with in the past. But I'm actually pretty excited about it. I mean, the only difference is there's no internal difference on this for the most part at all, except that it's got wired Ethernet, it's got a better stand, and it's got an OLED display that's bigger. Because I think the current display is like 6.2 inches, and this is 7. So it's got thinner bezels, works with the same Joy-Con, same processor, all that other kind of stuff. But it's got a better screen, and I think that a better screen is a big deal, even though it's not going to be able to output to 4K or be 1080p on the device or whatever. It still is going to be more legible and have better colors, more contrast. So I think it'll be a better experience playing handheld, which is how I probably play my Switch 80 to 90% of the time. So I'm looking forward to it. I mean, I do feel like some games like Breath of the Wild, the text just was not... That game was originally being designed for the Wii, and the text just is too small for handheld. And I think it'll be better with a slightly bigger screen and crisper display. So yeah, I'll probably pick one of these up.
Yeah, the bezels on the display has always been something, in the handheld mode that I look at my Switch and I'm like, yeah, it really could do with smaller bezels on this because that screen looks kind of crappy. I think the interesting thing with this new Switch, which is I don't really think is the Switch Pro that's been rumored necessarily.
No, I don't think so.
Because for somebody like me, I very, very rarely use handheld. I certainly don't play handheld in the house. I might do it if I go on a long train journey or something like that. There's nothing in this new Nintendo Switch that would make me or somebody like me who only ever plays on a TV want to upgrade. Right. Which I think is an interesting. It's kind of interesting, like mid-cycle, because normally these mid-cycle ones, whether it's like a slimmer Xbox or the PS4 Pro, that kind of thing, even if they weren't, they're not really necessarily an upgrade in a huge way, but there was always sort of a reason to upgrade. And I think if you don't use it handheld, there's no reason to upgrade to this new one at all.
Right. No, I think that's right. I mean, I think probably that your use is maybe unusual because it seems to me the fact that the Switch Lite came out first, which is only handheld, indicates that there's probably more people playing handheld than playing on a TV with this device. Now I mean, it's not that I just don't do it super often, and because I'll play a lot, I'll just like grab it and go sit on a couch and play by myself for a while, or I'll sometimes play a game in bed or something like that before I go to bed. And I just don't do it on our main TV very often. Maybe if I'm home by myself, but usually the TV's being used to watch shows of some kind or a movie or something. So yeah, I don't use it a ton for that. But but it is for handheld mode. I think this will be a big benefit. I don't know. I think it's interesting that they added wired Ethernet networking to this, because I don't know that these. I mean, I get that with something like a PS5 or an Xbox, where the games are absolutely gigantic, and some of the games are pretty big on the Switch, but they're not near. I don't think they're nearly as big as on those other consoles, and I don't know that people are having, I don't know, connection speed issues, because online play is not as big really on the Switch, and so I don't think it's downloading the games. I'm not really sure why that was something that people that they decided people needed, but I don't know. I'm glad to have it, I guess, because I can connect it and my downloads will happen faster, I hope. I mean, that's not always true with things like this, like Sony's, the PS4 that we have. I mean, even though we have a fast fiber connection, it takes forever for games to download because Sony's servers are so slow.
Oh, yeah, they're awful. And of course, the PS5 is connected to the exact same servers, and it's still just as slow. So
I know they've done all this stuff to make games faster when you're going, in terms of loading times and all that kind of thing. But downloading a game is so painful still. I mean, it just takes, it literally, you have to start it and then come back in an hour and see if it's done. And some of these games are getting really, really big on these various platforms.
Yeah, the one thing I'm glad about, and I think this is a PS5 only feature, is the PlayStation app will now notify you when a game finishes downloading.
Right.
So I don't have to sit there waiting for it to download and going back up and like turning it back on and stuff. I will just get a notification when it's done, which is really useful.
See, this was a problem. This is one of the benefits to my son when I was working in the basement, was that the PS4 is down there, and so he could start a download, and I'd be working down there, and I could tell him when it was finished. But fortunately, there's an app for that now, and I don't have to be the one doing it.
Right? Yeah, you don't need like a dad powered notifications.
Exactly. I'd have to sit there and listen to that terrible background noise that the PS4 makes. I forget, like the music that they have in the store.
Mm-hmm.
I would have to mute the TV because it would drive me crazy listening to that all the time.
Yeah, to be honest, I get the same. Even on the PS5, because it has some. Oh, well, actually, on the PS5, it like plays the background music for whatever game you're highlighted on.
Oh, all right.
And that's kind of fine for the first 20 seconds, and then I always have to mute it because I do the same. I turn it on during the day, and I might download a game and stuff like that, and I immediately mute it because it's just way too annoying to listen to that over and over again.
Right. I mean, if you're listening to it for a minute or two, it'd be fine. But if it's like a half an hour to an hour, it'll drive you slowly insane at some point.
Yeah, it kind of reminds me of, when I was a teenager and stuff, and I'd stay up late watching DVDs, and I'd wake up and the DVD would be on the menu, where all the DVD menus will just loop around.
Right.
Whether it's like a clip from the movie or some kind of weird background. Like music they'd added. It kind of reminds me of that, where it's just this constant, just like really annoying noise after you've heard it like 2 or 3 times.
Yeah, absolutely. But yeah, I guess I'm glad that they're updating it. My guess is a couple of things. One is they don't have to. There's still such high demand for the Switch and the games, even given the current technology, that I don't think they needed to do the Pro yet, so they're not. And when you add to that the fact that there's these chip shortages that are making it really hard for Microsoft and Sony to even get their new consoles into people's hands, I guess it's probably in Nintendo's interest to wait a year or so.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, you're totally right. Like, they have a product, just like the PS5 and the Xbox, where they basically can't make them quick enough. And for the Switch, that's even more impressive because it's 4 years old now.
Yeah, it's amazing to me that this is a 2017 thing, because it still feels new to me, which is probably why they don't need to do it, because I think to a lot of people it still feels kind of new and unique.
Yeah, and it feels like every Christmas for the last, the previous 3 years or whatever, 3 Christmases or whatever, have been just like it was when the Wii was out, where it was like people having to put reservations and like just hoping that they can get one for Christmas. Like, you kind of expected it with the PS5 and the Xbox, because it's a brand new thing. But there must be millions of Switches out there, and yet they still can't make them enough to keep up with demand.
Yeah, no, it's true. I mean, last time I went looking for one, you could get the light, but it was still very hard to get the main console. So, yeah, I don't know. I mean, it'll be interesting to see how this does. My guess is that despite some people kind of grumbling about the lack of a true upgrade to a higher and better model with 4K or whatever, that it's going to do really well come the holiday season.
Oh, definitely. I definitely want those white Joy-Cons, though. That's a different conversation, though.
Yeah, no, I think, yeah, I like the black and white color scheme that they've got coming out with this. I think it'll look pretty cool. Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. Are you going to play Skyward Sword, which is coming out, and I guess should be out a few days before we record next?
Yeah, I don't think I am. I'm going to wait for some
right.
reviews. If I'm honest, I've kind of been burned by some of the Zelda games when I've like gone back to them, or even the remake of. What was the one that was like the little 2D one, but it was like adorable that came out recently for the Switch?
Link's Awakening.
Yeah, and I kind of went back to it, and I did enjoy it for a while, and then I just thought, I still feel like I'm just playing an old game, and that's kind of fine, but
yeah.
I wasn't necessarily getting out of it what other people get out of these games. So sure. I'll wait for some reviews, and I might pick it up at some point, but I'm not really in a rush to give it a go. Are you gonna get it? I assume you are, because you.
Yes, I pre-ordered it a while ago. Yeah, I'm kind of deep into that whole. I'm really enjoying going back to older games, even if even the remasters and remakes, because I didn't really play a lot of Nintendo games in the '90s, especially, and I'm not even sure. I forget when this game came out. It was after that, but in any event, I am really deep into the Game Boy Advance era right now. And this game obviously is after that, but I'm looking forward to trying it. I know I mentioned on the show before Lukey's Games that I have bought by my used games from, and it's based in Florida. They sell tens of thousands of used games, and my most recent order, I gotta say, a little disappointing because I ordered expedited shipping. And they use, and I don't know that this is really their fault, but I'm certainly not going to pay extra for fast shipping again because they use the U.S. Postal Service. And first of all, the U.S. Postal, I don't know if this is true with like the Royal Mail, but the U.S. Postal Service, their tracking is terrible. You basically know when something leaves, where it's, where it starts, and like the day it's coming to you. But the in-between, you don't know anything about. Unlike, FedEx or UPS or DHL or whatever it is, where you kind of know, oh, well, it's in this city now, and now it's in this city, and it's coming on this day. You don't know that at all with the U.S. Postal Service. So my 3 GBA games got delivered to some, I don't know, sorting facility somewhere in Central Florida and sat there for 10 days before they ever started coming up to Chicago. It took 2 weeks for these things to come, and it was supposed to take like 3 to 4 days. And I'm happy with them. I mean, they're good. I got Metroid Fusion, Advance Wars, and WarioWare.
Nice.
Yeah, those are 3 really big classics. And you can probably figure out why I got those 3 because I watched the Nintendo Direct and got instant nostalgia for all the games Nintendo's going hard in on the Game Boy Advance era titles and bringing those to the Switch. And those are all 3, well, not Fusion. Fusion's not coming to the Switch. What's coming is Metroid Dread in October, I believe it is. And that same day is the Switch, by the way. And that takes place right after Metroid Fusion. So I got Fusion, and then I also got Advance Wars, which is Advance Wars 1 and 2 are coming out on the Switch, I think later this year or next year. I forget the timing on that one. And then WarioWare, which is also coming on the Switch. So I don't know. I think these old games are kind of fun, and I'm still holding out hope for my Analog Pocket, which is now, I think I heard, is supposed to come in maybe October or something like that. It'll have been, I think I ordered it over a year ago now. And I think by the time it shows, it will have been 18 months. I mean, it wasn't supposed to, I ordered it, I'm pretty sure in June last year, and it wasn't supposed to come until the end of the year. And now it'll be closer to the end of the following year. So it'll have been delayed probably 9+ months by that point.
Yeah, it definitely feels like the kind of thing we've talked about on the show, like for so long.
A whole bunch of times.
Like if I check the show notes, I'm sure it's got to be in at least like 5, maybe 10 episodes that we've mentioned it. That poor thing.
I'm still waiting. I've got a good collection now, which is the silver lining is I have a good collection of games to play on it because, some of these games are kind of expensive to buy the actual cartridges, like especially the 3 I just bought were on the pricey end for what I tend to buy. But now I have a pretty good collection to play, and I do have devices to play them on. In the meantime, I have a Game Boy SP and an original DSi, the white DSi that has a Game Boy Advance slot in it too.
Nice.
A Game Boy slot in it too. Yeah, so I have different ways to do it, and I'll keep playing those games as the date approaches. But I'm looking forward to it. What I didn't get at the time when I pre-ordered it was the TV docking station that outputs at 1080p. I'm very curious what a original Game Boy game looks like in 1080p, I gotta say. It's obviously got to be up-resed through software, but I'm not sure it'd be a great experience. But that's why I didn't get it. But it's impossible to get even the accessories for the Analog Pocket at this point.
It's I'd be interested to know what happens when you can actually hear about it when you've actually got it in your hands, which would be nice.
Yeah. A lot of people are very angry because they haven't opened up orders since the original pre-orders, and there's a ton of demand for it, and because of the chip shortages, they haven't been able to open up orders since the original launch day.
Yeah, it's kind of a crappy situation all around, but I think give it another 6 to 12 months, and I think a lot of this will sort of resolve itself.
Yeah, I hope so, and we're getting close to the to Panic's thing coming out too.
Yes, yeah, we do. Yeah, because
the play date, right?
Yeah, because we discussed it. I think last episode because I hadn't watched the video at that point, which I did now.
What'd you think?
Oh yeah, I really liked it, and I was hovering. I was looking at it. I was like, I could order one. I did think about it, but I'm just going to keep it on the back burner for now and just consider it.
All right. Well, we'll see. I'm gonna be. I forget when I gotta look. When's the order date? Isn't it coming up like in a couple of days, maybe?
Pre-order in July, it says.
Okay. For some reason, I thought it was July 9th, but
don't know.
I think I'm wrong about that.
You've got to put your email in, and it says they'll email you when it's pre-order, so I'm not entirely sure.
All right. Well, we don't have a date yet, but I'm going to be ready. I'm going to be ready for it. I'm going to be right there.
Excellent.
All right, Rob. Well, I think that's probably good for an episode right there.
Yeah, I reckon it probably is. So, we'll call it there. We'll be back in 2 weeks, I suspect, unless anything horribly goes wrong, which I don't think it will this time.
Yeah. Well, there's resiliency in my setup. That's what I've proven over the last couple of weeks. But,
right, exactly.
All right, I'll talk to you soon.
Okay, speak to you later.